Hello, friends. My name is Katie McCaffrey. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
I'm Sarah Dodge, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
And welcome back to another episode of Band Bantered Unfiltered. We are joined today by Nick Thompson. Nick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Nick Thompson, and I am a clarinetist in the President's Own United States Marine Band.
Amazing. Sarah, would you like to talk about what we addressed today?
I will talk about it. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about a wide array of things. We talked about life in military band. We had a good little Sousa history lesson. We talked about chamber music and how all of these things play roles across all aspects of Nick's life. And we interrogated him for a while, and it was a lot of fun. So please enjoy.
Cool. Would you start by kind of telling us like a little bit about yourself and your career and where you're from?
So I grew up in the Northern Virginia area, near DC,
Okay.
in like Great Falls, Virginia.
Yeah.
Near Tyson's Corner,
Yeah,
Fancy
yeah,
Mall.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
like 10 minutes from there. And then I started playing clarinet when I was like in 4th or 5th grade, but
Whoa,
I didn't
so
really.
early.
It's been a while, but I didn't really care about it until senior year.
Fair.
Like we all do.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are some people in the band or like in life who've been doing it for like so much longer, like seriously. So it's always an interesting comparison in that way.
Right.
But then I went to George Mason University for undergrad in Fairfax, so another Virginia school.
I have so many good friends up at George Mason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I went to University of Michigan for master's, and then took a couple years off, did like some auditions, freelancing, and then during the pandemic decided to start a doctorate.
Oh, yes.
Because
that's
what you do.
Just bored at home, you know?
Because there was
Why not?
nothing else going on. My professor was like, if you're just sitting here, you might as well do
Just
it.
for fun.
Right. And then during the first year of that, and then I won the job in the Marine Band, which I also never thought would happen. So it was like, boom, 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 all these things.
Everything's going really great.
Yeah, it was an interesting, like, during the pandemic to have all those positives. And then I joined the Marine Band in October 2022. I enlisted in August of 2022 with the right hand up, and then started October 2022.
Gotcha.
And then just finished the doctorate like a month ago.
Wow,
Oh,
So-
congratulations.
Yeah.
Now we're Dr. Thompson.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Dr.
Did we get that on your name tag?
No. But I'm going to pencil it. I was going to pencil it in. Yeah.
And twin with Dylan. Dylan did that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you're like really new to like the military band scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What like led you in that direction? Had you always been interested?
Growing up like near DC, I knew they existed. I actually knew more, I would say, Air Force Band people. Just like matter of fact, like one of the people I studied with at George Mason was in the Air Force Band, a clarinetist. And then I knew some other Air Force Band people who were just like in the community who like came to my recitals, or like I took some one-off lessons with them. But then I had some friends in the Marine Band who like I got to know them through music festivals. Like I went to Chautauqua Music Festival, and one of the clarinetists there joined the Marine Band before me. And then he was like, hey, you should audition. Hey, you should audition. Like every audition. And then I was like, okay. And then when the pandemic happened, I was like, okay, I'll consider it. Because the military bands were some of the only ensembles or like organizations still doing auditions.
Yeah.
It took orchestras a lot longer.
That's.
to
I didn't
kind
even think of that.
To kind of figure out how to do things, but I guess because the military, I don't know, was just so much more organized. Like they responded really quickly.
Right.
I mean, I didn't do it during the pandemic, but when I went to my audition, like we still had to wear masks.
Right.
And they had all the like air purifiers in all of the practice rooms, and it still was a little bit like scary.
Weird.
Maybe
Yeah.
weird in
Yeah.
a way. So
You're like,
but-
this doesn't feel right.
Not a typical audition,
yeah,
but
I think some people had like earlier in the pandemic they had to like send tape rounds, and then like they had finals, but it was even more like they just had to be really careful, like
Gotcha.
to play only one at a time and stuff, and so it's interesting.
Yeah, that's. Oh God, COVID times.
Yeah.
Something I don't ever want to think about.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
It's interesting.
So,
They did.
auditioned during COVID times and just started in October. What has your experience been like?
So, yeah, I'm coming up on like almost 2 years. It's been really interesting. It's been good so far. Like, it's a really great job. I mostly played in orchestras before that. And like I said, like I knew people in the bands, but I never thought, like, I thought I was like going to be in an orchestra for sure. I think a lot of people think that way for sure. I mean, there are some people in the military bands who are very like gung-ho, that's what they want to do. But a lot of people are like, oh, maybe orchestra, and then like auditions are just very tough. So sometimes you're like, well, maybe you keep taking auditions and you start thinking about, as you get older, you're like, oh, a salary seems nice. Healthcare seems nice.
Yeah.
Retirement seems nice.
Right.
Especially if you're married, your spouse gets healthcare for free. And like, there's a lot of really good perks. And then like later on, you just realize like, it just matters like kind of the people in the group, how they are. If they're like good people, really good musicians, and the musicians in the Marine Band are like some of the best I've ever played with in my life.
Really?
So yeah, and they're just really good people, really supportive. And we do a lot of like variety of music, I would say. Like we do the chamber wind stuff we're doing here this week.
Cool.
Not a lot. I wish we did it more, but we can do our own chamber concerts, so we can do that if we want. But then we do like new commissions of things. We do standards. Obviously, Sousa was our conductor, so we'll always do Sousa, which is fine.
Make sure that gets in there.
Yeah,
I have to say that. No.
It's fine. It's great.
It's fun. No, because I mean, we really know how to play Sousa really well.
Yeah.
So I've played Sousa marches before, of course, in high school and college. But you get to the Marine Band, and it's like, oh my gosh, like they know how to play it to a T.
Yeah.
So it is fun in that.
Verbatim of how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, from like a historical standpoint.
Yeah.
And there are things we do like taking certain melodies down the octave the first time and then playing it in the original octave the next time.
Cool.
That was a thing Sousa like did to make it more interesting, playing with the dynamics more, so that's fun. So like that, Holst, Granger, of course, and then like transcriptions of orchestral stuff, because Sousa was really big into that as well. So it's fun to be part of like a super historical, important ensemble.
Long-standing.
Yeah, the longest standing in the country. Yeah. So,
What an honor.
yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So those are kind of what you're playing like at your concerts and stuff like that, but what does your day-to-day like job, I guess, look like? Because I've heard there's like, you have your rehearsals and your musicianship, but there's like another desk job or like a bigger job on top.
Yeah, so that can, from an outside perspective, it can be interesting or confusing maybe how the bands work. So the Marine Band is different in a way that we have all of our own support staff and admin, like actually like individual people.
Yeah.
But we just like as musicians, like our only obligation is to play in the ensemble. So we'll have like performing obligations and then ceremonial duties as well. So we'll do like funerals in Arlington National Cemetery for Marines who've passed away. And that could be, I mean, it could be like officers or like staff NCOs, like what I am. But there are a good amount of funerals, and then there are a lot of jobs at the White House. So it'll be like state arrivals of important heads of state. Like I worked the Indian arrival last year, so that was really interesting.
Nice.
So it's a really big like flourish whenever there's a state arrival. It's a lot of standing, so like you need your custom insoles for sure, which I discovered after. I had some off-the-shelf ones that were okay, but I have better ones. So.
Yeah, it's like these are very much needed.
Yeah, so in the moment it can be like, oh my gosh, my feet. But then afterwards you're like, that was pretty cool. Like you see pictures.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Like there are a lot of day-to-day events at the White House, like bill signings or commemorations of certain like days, and then they'll have us come and do certain music or marching in, marching out. I'm trying to think, what else do we do? We do these things called patriotic openers, flag and probably Marine Corps flag or other military flags, and then we'll play National Emblem March, we'll play Star Spangled Banner. Sometimes we'll do prelude marches, some Sousa marches and other stuff, and then we'll leave. So those jobs are usually pretty short, but they can be pretty cool because you can see like some famous people. Recently we did the White House Correspondence Dinner. So that was really fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
I wish we had gotten to stay because Colin Jost was the main like entertainer, and I watch SNL like every week. And then we were standing, of course, when they were walking in, because whenever the president comes in, we play like Hail to the Chief, and we have to stand. But usually when we're playing that, maybe we're in another room and we can't see him, or we can see him, but he's like kind of further away. But him and Kamala and everyone were like right in front of us, and it was like, oh my gosh.
don't breathe.
Yeah, I was like, don't hit the stand, don't mess up. Yeah, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, I knew that job would be like that, but I didn't know how it would feel in the moment. So like, I would say the military band jobs, like, there's a lot of really great performing that you do, but then there's special jobs like that where you would never get to do that in an orchestra. Ever,
Right.
So it's like these really cool things that you're like, oh, I don't know, it's like kind of late on a Saturday night, do I have to go do this job? And then you're like, oh my gosh, that was really cool. Like, I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that just changed my life.
Yeah,
This one does.
so it's a pretty cool experience.
That's
overall.
insane.
I've heard it's, well, I forget who told me this, but military band music, like if you have like a military band and maybe, I don't know, a community band or something like that, military band music is for a different purpose than music making for the sake of making music.
Interesting.
Have you ever heard that, or do you
Yeah, I wonder.
wildly disagree? I think what they're saying, it's been so long since somebody told me that, but I think they were just saying that the music that you play is very, it communicates a very specific message, and it looks a very certain way, and I think is what they were going for.
Like more ceremonial?
Maybe.
It could, I mean, I could see how people could think that for sure.
Maybe
And I think,
that it's a little bit, I think maybe what they were implying was that it is a little bit less artful per se.
Maybe. I mean, so I would say within our repertoire, there are definitely things that we play, especially when we go on tour. We always have like very patriotic music that we play at the end of a tour. Like we have God Bless America, America the Beautiful. We have all the service songs. Certain Sousa marches are very like patriotic as well. So there is that component where we will always play like very like soaring Americana.
This music for this
stuff.
time and this place.
Yeah, like it has a purpose for sure. Or stuff like that we play at the White House, like Hail to the Chief, O Columbia. There are certain things that have certain purposes, or when we do funerals as well. But then I would say, especially in the Marine Band, that's what's really good about it, is we do a wide array of music that is like very musical, tasteful, like a lot, because a lot of the musicians, like, I mean, I have a doctorate. There are a lot of people who have doctorates that are very high level musicians. So it's like, we really want to play like a wide array of music. So I'm glad we get to do that. And it could have been different back in the Marine Band, especially like when Sousa was there. I did some research as part of my DMA about his programming, basically.
Of course.
So it was giant nerd time. But he was a really interesting guy, for sure. He wrote a lot of marches, but he also wrote a lot of operettas and stuff. He wanted to basically be like the next Gilbert and Sullivan. That was actually his dream.
Whoa, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, but everyone knew him as like the March King, but he really wanted his operettas to be the thing that he was known for, and it just didn't quite work out. There were some, El Capitan, especially is one that's coming to my mind, that was like somewhat successful, because there's the march from that. That's part of the overture, I think.
I was like, I know the march from El Capitan.
Right.
The Freelance.
And the Freelance was another, was another, I think, operetta. It was an operetta, I think that was
That's right, we just did that.
somewhat successful, but still none of them ever quite were like a Pirates of Penzance, So he also wrote a lot of like art songs, which is really, you would not think that. Yeah, voice and piano, and he was a violinist. He actually played as concertmaster in operetta orchestras when he was really young.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember everything. There was like the Chicago Exposition in the late 1800s or early 1900s, but then there was the Columbia Exposition, I think in Philly, like 15, 20 years earlier. Could be remembering things wrong, but he played in the operetta orchestra for Offenbach, like the famous operetta composer from Paris. Yeah, they like brought him in. It was really it's pretty insane. He like knew a lot of really, really important musical people. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, he just wrote a lot of marches. He conducted the Marine Band.
That's all he did.
Yeah, but he actually did, like, so much more. Yeah. So, and he knew, like, Theodore Thomas, who was the founding music director of the Chicago Symphony back at the time. So he kind of was, like, good friends with all these super important people back in the time. So, but he basically, like, was kind of always trying to find, like, the newest music that was being written by, like, opera composers, especially Verdi, Puccini, Wagner, especially in Europe, and, like, transcribing some of the stuff, and then, like, either the Marine Band or the Sousa Band after they would, like, play it. So sometimes, like, the Sousa Band would play this new music before the Met Opera would actually play the original in America. That happens, like, a couple of times. Not a lot, but... Right. And even if maybe he was, like, the second person, you know? So he was kind of on the forefront of bringing what at the time was very progressive, new, like, challenging music for his band. So it was pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Marine Band does that today. Basically.
Yeah.
It's not just like...
Yeah, and we still do... We don't do as many of the opera transcriptions as before. They're really hard.
They're extremely hard.
Fair?
There's, like, a Tannhäuser transcription from Wagner, and the clarinet writing alone is, like... Okay, maybe we shouldn't play this. I don't know. Like, I don't... Well, especially the Marine Band back in his time was so much smaller. Yeah. So I'm like, how did they play this? Like, I don't know. Maybe the clarinet players in his band were amazing, but I don't know.
Probably more free time. Maybe, probably, like,
more free time.
Maybe. Yeah, so...
We really don't have to play this for, like, 4 months. You have 4 months to learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like, hey, learn this in a week.
Yeah. But we're definitely we still commission a lot of stuff, so... From a big variety, like pretty contemporary stuff, pretty traditional band stuff. So it's fun to still be also still on the forefront in a way. Yeah.
What are your commissions mainly, like, focused in, or are they kind of, like, diverse in aspect? Like, what composers are we trying to bring in, or new, younger, older?
Yeah, that's a good, actually, so, like, when we were on tour in October, last October, we did the Midwest, and then we were premiering 2 pieces by 2 female composers, one Gala Flagello, who went to U of M. She was there when I was there, like, in general, because I did master's, had the break, then DMA, but she was, I can't remember if we were in school at the same time or not, but I definitely, we knew each other, but we premiered a new, like, kind of overture piece by her, really fun, really bright, exciting, fast-paced, and then we did another piece by Xu-Ying Li, Chinese-American female composer. She did DMA, I'm pretty sure, at U of M, and now she teaches out in California. But that was, like, a bigger, longer piece, a little bit more, like, a little bit more in the direction of atonality, a lot of different timbres, orchestrational things, a little more challenging, but fun in a way. It had a really cool ending where it had this giant buildup of sound where the players basically had pitches and then you could play them in whatever kind of order or configuration you wanted, and it just was this giant mass of sound. Cool. And then it ended with this, like, boom on, like, I think tubular bells or chimes or something, I forget exactly what it was, but it was like, and then it was like it would fade away. And then it was interesting to see the reaction to the piece on tour, because some of the places we were playing, it's like they don't have, like, a major symphony orchestra or a big community band there or anything really, and it's like they probably haven't heard something like this before. And then sometimes we were like, how is this gonna go over? But then they were like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, clapping a lot, and we were like, oh, okay, like, that's cool. So glad
you liked it.
Yeah, you never know, like, how people will react to music. You might have these preconceived notions, but people might really love something that you would think they might not. So it's always good to just program, like, a wide variety, different voices, different backgrounds, and then, like, people can learn about something that they maybe would have never experienced had you not programmed it. So,
and I mean, that's kind of our responsibility sometimes as musicians, is to continue to bring in new music and new composers.
Yeah.
Or even if it's a piece that maybe that's been out a few years, to people that haven't seen it before or need to hear, like, this is what we're striving for. Yeah. So I think that's a huge undertaking as musicians. We must do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we started, I don't know, I think it started a couple of years before I joined, but we have like a call for scores like competition, I guess, within the Marine Band now. And I think it changes. Like a couple of years ago it was like just for strings. That's also a giant perk of the Marine Band. Some of the bands do not have strings, but we do have strings. So when we do chamber music, we're not limited just to like winds, brass, percussion. We also have pianists. We have 3 pianists. So chamber music, it's like you can do whatever you want. And that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice. But we had a composition contest, and I think it was for like string ensemble, and this like Korean female composer won, and it was a really cool piece. And then this last year we did like chamber winds. Actually, it was it an octet or was it a dectet? But it was this guy who was from Lansing in Michigan, near U of M. So, and I had heard of him before.
You're like, okay, we're gonna be good friends.
Yeah, and it was a fun piece, but it was really fun I got to play the premiere. And that was cool to be part of, like bringing a new piece into the world.
It was specifically chamber piece too.
Yeah, right. And it was cool because it was on like a Marine Band, like, you know, classics concert. Like it was like us, and then the whole band came out and did more. So it's like, I feel like in that way, a lot of people who maybe would never have come to a chamber concert got to hear this piece. Because we definitely have audiences that come more for the chamber concerts throughout the year or in October when half the band is on tour. And then we have audiences that come to like our big concerts like from January to May. But I don't know if they like cross-pollinate very much. So just it could be a location thing too. Yeah. But it was like, I'm sure those people would have not heard that had it been on a chamber concert. So,
right.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important to do more of those, and just not just for like the Marine bands? I mean, just even for schools or colleges to do more like chamber works with our larger band works.
I think actually
give them that experience.
I think it's a good We've started doing that recently, like the commission, and then I'm trying to remember. There was a concert I wasn't on where I think we did like a Takamitsu piece at the beginning, and it was like a percussion ensemble, like before either the rest of the band concert or orchestra. And then recently we did like John Mackey's, is it Dark Wine Sea, the Symphony for
Wine
Band?
Dark Sea.
Wine Dark Sea, sorry.
Close enough.
Close
Same
enough.
thing.
Yeah.
Same words.
Yeah, close. Yeah. Greek like myth. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because that piece is from the same vein as like Pan, the flute player. Our conductor asked one of the flutists if they wanted to do Debussy's Syrinx, and they did it from like the rafters in the hall with the lights dimmed down, and then we just like went into the Mackey Symphony.
That's cool.
What?
And you would never think a military band would do that because we're all wearing our uniforms just like sitting on stage. But then the lighting, it was like really cool because I think it's nice to see that we're starting to change, like even for military bands, like not like this is a concert, we are going to play now these works, you know. It's like now it's like more of an experience, and it's people are like
cool.
Oh, like I didn't know you guys did that.
That's how you bring people, that's how you get them back.
So even doing just an unaccompanied work, let alone like a quintet or quartet on a concert, I think can be really cool to create. Just like, this is the theme of a concert, and we're not only offering you just like big loud band music or even quieter, more vulnerable stuff, but here's some trios, quartets, quintets, octets, dectets, whatever. I think that can be really important. And then people can start to like draw comparisons and see how things are connected. And
this is a good segue, or maybe a go away from the topic and come back, but it's really the same topic. How did you get involved in Newfound Chamber Winds?
So that's a funny story.
Chamber music.
In a way.
Connects.
Yeah. I met Tyler, Dr. Austin. Oh my gosh, when was that? Like 2016, I think.
Wow.
Or was it 2016? 2017? I had basically finished my undergrad at GMU. And I guess it was 2016. It was the summer before I moved to Ann Arbor. And then he, I guess, had finished whatever degree, I forget exactly, before he started his
One of them.
DMA at MSU. But we played this like kind of put together like orchestra gig for this like opera finals like aria contest, and we met there, and I was playing second. He was playing, I think, principal bassoon, and he was like, "Hi, I'm Tyler," and I was like, "Hi, I'm Nick. Who are you?" Like we, you know, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm moving to Michigan soon to be a wind conductor," and I was like, "Oh, I'm moving to Michigan soon to do clarinet at U of M," and he's like, "Oh, that's the better school," and I was like, and I was like, yeah. No, and I was like, no, MSU is good too, you know. But no, I mean, they're both amazing schools, really. So we weren't at the same school, but we did hang out like once or twice when we were there. But because we weren't in the same place, it was hard to like stay in contact.
Right.
And then I think he asked me to do what was then Maryland Chamber Winds like in 2017 maybe. But then I went to there was a festival I got into that I really wanted to go to in Chautauqua. So I was like, hey, I'm sorry, I need to do this. He's like, no, it's okay. And then
just make sure you come back.
Yeah, he's like, we'll get you in there eventually. But you know, so, and then I think it was 2 years ago that I joined. I think it was 2022, the first time I did it. There was a clarinetist who was supposed to do it, and then I think New York Phil called to ask him to play. And now he's a regular like freelancer with them. He's Danny Mui. He's in New York City Ballet, and he's also been playing with Chicago Lyric. He's a great player. Also went to U of M. So, but he basically couldn't do it anymore. So Tyler was like, "Okay, now can you do it?" And I was like, "Yes." So, and then since then, it's been really fun just to see the people that have come in and get to play this music that I played a lot in my master's in DMA in the graduate conducting seminar at U of M. So I've played like Beethoven Octet, the Bernard, both the Mozart serenades, like even and way more stuff before a lot. So it's fun to come back to this, especially now like in a band job.
Right.
So where you would think I would play it a lot, but I don't play it a lot because I'm one of 25 clarinets in the Marine Band, and like I don't get to do a lot of chamber music, so it is fun to do this. And it's especially fun to see the group take on like the conducting summit this year and the instrument fellows and have the band director workshop this weekend. It's like a lot. It's like from what I understand, it's been a little stressful, but but what I can imagine, I'm not even helping. I tried to help. I was like, I can help, and Brian was like, okay, and then I was like, okay, you're busy. I'll just do my part when I get there.
Like we'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
Just bring clarinet.
Just play well. So, but it's been fun to like have the fellows here and to see, especially like my colleagues in the group who are like music educators at universities, to see their like educator mode turn on. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so good at that. No, of course, no wonder you have a job as a professor. Like I knew you must be good at teaching, but wow, okay, you're really
like there's the example. Pretty great.
Right, and I already knew they were all great players. But to see that side, it's like really beautiful and it's fun and it's inspiring to me. Like I don't have an academic job yet, so but I would like to do it in the future. Obviously, that's why I did a DMA. I don't want to torture myself otherwise, but it's just fun to see different like ways of teaching and all the students, and
that's so cool.
Pretty fun.
I mean, and it gotta be kind of special, like you said, to see your friends in that educator role. You know, it's like, oh, I didn't know that I knew there was this side of you, but I've never seen it in action. Have you always been like into chamber music from like when you started playing, or let's say when you started getting serious about clarinet? Like, has that always kind of been your love? Yeah,
it definitely has been one of them, I would say. Like I was very focused on audition taking, but now that I'm done with that for the foreseeable future, some people, they win a job and they are like, no, I want a better, like they just want to keep going. Can be like a game for them in a way, I think, because it's very competitive, and some people enjoy that. I enjoyed it enough to the point where I was good enough to win a job. And then I was like, now
we're done.
I want to play some recitals with friends and do some chamber music. So, I would say chamber music has always been really important to me. That's how I met my wife. Like, at U of M, we did Brahms clarinet trio, clarinet, cello, piano. I wanted to do, I think earlier in the semester, I wanted to do, like, Messiaen quartet for the end of time, clarinet, violin, cello, piano. But I couldn't find, like, a violinist. And then there was a lot of things, and it just didn't work out. But the chamber coach at U of M, who is married to my clarinet professor was like, oh, there's this like pianist and cellist looking for a clarinetist to do Brahms. Would you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, sure, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
and then I see this
fun.
super cute Korean girl, and I'm like, oh, hi, how's it going? Yeah. And then we, so, and then here we are, married and happy, and yeah, it's been a really fun ride. So chamber music can be really special because it's just like you get to know people on a really deep level. Not like you have to in a way, because you have to play like super together, know how you're gonna phrase, know the score, know the ins and outs, and you talk about things. Sometimes you get in arguments with them.
Yes.
If you're really passionate, like that has happened with my wife and me. So, but it's
Go
like
step into the other room and think about it.
yeah. So, especially like the harder the pieces, the more there's just a lot of layers that can get added, and it's like, oh my gosh. But no, chamber music can be like, I think chamber music for most composers is like the best way to understand their style, you know?
Really?
In my opinion, I think so. Like people, like for example, like just like Brahms is like one of my favorite composers. At the end of any day, no matter what type of day I've had, if it's good or bad. But like, I mean, I love the symphonies, but like even as a clarinetist, just like his like late piano writing, or some of his, or the clarinet quintet. Clarinet sonatas, okay, I sound like a clarinetist. Some of the string quartets, like the string sextets, stuff for voice, like, I don't know, it just like shows you like their soul and like how they are as a person. And then once you know their chamber music, you can take it into the larger works, the symphonies, the like operas, the whatever. And then you're like, oh, okay, that makes more sense, like how this phrase should go, or like what was happening in the composer's life at this time. So
right.
I think chamber music is really important. Yeah.
Do you think some of getting to know the composer through chamber music is due to like there being less instruments, so it's a little bit more like intimate between you and the composer? Or like how do you find that composer voice more in chamber music? Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe in that way, actually. Yeah, because there are just less instruments. So, I don't know, it's like you have a higher chance of having like a really beautiful melody or something, I think, in that way. And yeah, I feel like a lot of composers, I don't know, just the way it's worked out, like chamber music, a lot of them, they were going through something rough in their life, and they're like,
I must write.
Yeah, like I'm gonna write this wind serenade, or I'm gonna write this string quartet, or I'm gonna write this trio. Yeah, just it's like how they express really deep emotions, I feel like, a lot of the time. Especially maybe later in music history. I think maybe some of the earlier string quartets, Mozart, Haydn, although that's not true. Some of them are also like they were going through a lot, but some of it maybe in the past was perhaps more background music for like palaces and parties, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the wind serenades were like that too. It was like Nachtmusik, like serenades. They're just supposed to kind of be in the background at like a big gathering at a palace, and the wind musicians were just hired to play it, and which is kind of insane because it's really good music.
Right. Can you be in the background?
Right, like Grand Partita. Oh, can you play a little quieter? I'm trying to like have my dinner over here. Yeah, it's like, bro, what? Yeah,
like, so, excuse me.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, I mean, there are a lot of I could go on, but it's okay.
No, please.
Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Yeah,
how does doing things like playing with newfound chamber winds and work outside of military band, how does that fit in with your schedule, I guess, and like kind of overall trajectory of things going on in the year? Yeah,
so thankfully we are given leave in the military band, and like life. So, but we get it in this is weird, 2.5 day increments per month. So you're like, what? But it adds up to 30 days a year. So, but basically if you don't take leave in a month, you get 2.5 days, or if you take 1 day, you get 1.5 days of leave. So you want to try to stay in the positive every month so that your bank of leave is going up.
Right.
So that when it comes to things like this, and I have to take off like 10 days or whatever, I can just do it. So as long as you have the leave days, and we have no leave periods, like around 4th of July or Christmas, or when half the band is on tour, you're either on tour or you're in DC doing the jobs that you have to do because most of the band is gone.
Right.
Or we have recording sessions every year in January or February usually. So, but as long as it's not a no leave period and you have the leave days, you can take the leave. So basically, I just make sure I have enough leave so I can take leave for things like this because like it's really important for me. It's not, especially now that I'm in like a military band where the schedule can be very hectic and stressful. It's nice to just like step away for a bit and then come here with totally different people. Even though the schedule here is very packed too.
Yeah.
But it's a different vibe.
100%.
For sure. And both vibes are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Love
nice.
them equally.
We love them, yeah. But it's nice to just have like
Little break from one.
yeah,
break from
and
the other.
just play a lot of chamber music and see people that I only see like for like 10 days out of a year and see how people have been doing. And you know, like Parker just got a new job, really happy for him. It's nice to see Tyler again, and I've never seen him teaching conducting. I mean, you guys are like the products of that, so I'm sure you're great. But it's just it's fun to see him doing that. He's
Right.
so like smart.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing we'll ask, kind of towards, we ask all of our guests on here. You have a different perspective, so you're kind of our first of this. Most people we bring on are music educators.
Okay.
So as like somebody who's primarily a musician, what is some piece of advice you would give to other musicians, or even to like educators you've experienced, if you had to, as a part of
Right.
guidance?
Yeah. I think for me, because like I said earlier on, I started really late caring about music. For example, like when I started practicing more, it was like senior year, October, and undergrad auditions were like in January or February. So the amount of time I had to like quickly get into gear was very short, but it was doable. But barely. And then when I got into an undergrad, I was like, oh, I have to do a lot of catch up with a lot of fundamentals, rep, just like learning about style, classical music, history, like all the things. And I would say if you're in that situation, then that it's like, it is possible. It might seem very daunting because you might be surrounded by people who like have been going to Juilliard Free College or Manhattan or like had lessons with someone in a major symphony, or their family are musicians. My parents are not, you know. My parents, let's see, I think both my dad and mom sang in like choir in high school just for fun, you know, and then maybe in church or something a little bit, but they were not professionally trained. So I had no help there in a way. I had like encouragement, but not an understanding. So I would come home and be frustrated and they're like, oh, well, just keep trying. You know what I mean? But they're not like, oh no, you need to phrase this, you know. So some people I know, it's like, their parents were in the Boston Symphony, New Yorkville, Pittsburgh, like, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So you might
on my own here.
So you might feel like it might be impossible, and there'll be points where you're like, oh, I'm getting better, like I'm getting closer, and then you realize it has to be even a higher level, maybe like to get into grad school, or I remember when I took my first professional audition for a small regional orchestra. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think that went well. And they were like, no one advanced from this round. And I was like, okay, I guess not. Yeah. And I was
Guess not.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So I feel like there's different rounds or like different like layers, circles that you go through. You get to the next level and then it's like, oh, okay, I need to try even harder. And you just keep going. That's life though. Even though I'm now in the Marine band,
You're not done.
No, definitely not. No, I play and I'm like, oh, okay, embouchure, a little loose. Okay, this, like, intonation could be better, like, phrasing, air usage. Like, there's so many things to constantly keep working on. So I think as long as you keep just encouraging, pushing yourself to go even higher with all your ways of playing and love of music, finding colleagues and teachers who really inspire you and push you in a positive way, and make sure you give yourself time to relax.
That's a theme. That's a theme here.
I will say, as someone who just finished a doctorate and had to give 3 recitals within less than a year, people say, oh, it's a year. No, it's really like 8 months. And being in a full-time job, take care of your body. I had some pain in my wrist, and that wasn't fun. I survived, and now I'm learning how to stretch and how to deal with it. But I wish someone had told me about that when I was an undergrad. Because
thankfully, you're so quick on that, and then I'll let you get back.
No,
but we had physical therapists come into our wind ensemble and orchestra and talk about musical ergonomics and like small like hand and shoulders and back exercises that we could do to keep like flexibility. And it was something I had never thought of before. I was like, oh no, I'll be good forever. I'm like, and when I'm done, I'm done. They were like, you can, put that decay off more by just stretching. You're doing yoga for your wrists.
Was that pre my time here?
It probably might have been.
That's sad.
It was in our
That would have been
orchestra.
useful.
And you talk about stretching like this muscle and right in here and pressing up against doors for like your shoulders and
your neck too. All the things.
Yeah, that's where I learned that.
Music just breaks you.
In more ways than one. Physical and emotional pain. Anyways.
Yeah. No, but even like just simple stretching like that. When I had pain, once I started getting into the stretching, it went away. Like it took a couple weeks, but then you just do it daily and you get like yoga and also more like things for neck, shoulder, hand, but a lot of tension comes from the shoulders and the neck. It really does come from the top and go down. And people, like wind musicians especially, we sit a lot.
Yes.
And clarinetists, we have a lot of weight, like
just
right hand. And just really making, even right now I'm like, but just making sure you're really taking care of yourself. So, because when you're young, it's fine. Like, in a way. Like, you can keep doing it and your body is young and nimble. And then
I'm getting those like pre-warning signs, like, hey, this might hurt later.
And then
just ignore it.
I'm
It'll
almost 30, and we're already there. So it's like take care of yourself when you're young. That would be my advice. Another part of the advice.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here and for being on this. This was, incredible and a learning experience, I think, for the both of us.
Yeah.
Our knowledge of the military band life is, and I think that's for everybody. And we don't have a scope into the inside world.
Right.
So, anyways, stay tuned for another episode of bandbanter.unfiltered. You can find us on Instagram and on YouTube and Spotify. And I'm trying to think of anything else to say, but I don't think there is.
I think you got it all.
I think I got it all. All right. Bye.